everyone. Today I'm very, very excited. We are interviewing Captain Erik Scott, LAFD. And Erik, first of all, can you please introduce yourself, why you chose this profession? And I believe I see you as firefighter, as a hero, helping people, saving and protecting people. And a lot of times when young people are asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Kids say, I want to be a police or firefighter, but then they choose a different profession. What was your motivation to do that?
Sure. Well, yeah, as you mentioned, Erik Scott. So I've been about 25 years as a first responder, 20 of those years with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, and worked for a smaller fire department prior to that. We certainly don't consider ourselves heroes. That's very kind of you, but we are here simply to do our job, and we're honored to serve the public. And it is just part of the chosen profession, and it's arduous and can be difficult, but it's also very rewarding.
Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, I don't know why I did this. I just a second ago nodded and went, thank you. Like I apologize. That had On behalf of everyone in Greater Los Angeles, thank you for all that you do. Now, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but there are some jokes even I'm not brave enough to tell. So on behalf of myself, would you please read what's in the prompter? And remember, everyone in this audience has to laugh. These are heroes. Yes, take it away. LAFD Captain Erik Scott.
Well, our hearts go out to all of those who have lost their homes. And I'm talking about the producers of Joker 2.
Damn, best delivery of the night. All right.
To answer your question on how did I get started, to be honest, I was a photographer for a number of years, from probably 15 to almost 25 years of age. And I remember the day where I kind of decided to maybe switch paths. And I had some differences going on in my personal life that opened up opportunities. And I was with one of my best friends in Simi Valley at this community pool. And he goes, now that you have options, what do you want to do? And he goes, what about being a firefighter? And I go, I've never really thought of that. I'm thinking, well, you get to help people. It sounds exciting, physically challenging. And we both started talking for about an hour, and we decided at that point that we would at least investigate it. So we drove to our local community college. Back then they had one of those big boxes, kind of like with newspapers. You open it up, and there's all your schedule of classes. And we go, fire technology, R151, I remember, and EMT, emergency medical technician. And so we knocked out some of the prerequisites, and then once I got into it and you surrounded yourself with other like-minded individuals pursuing that same career goal, it was so exciting, and there was no stopping me at that point. It was really, really enjoyable to learn all the anatomy and physiology and EMT, and eventually went to UCLA paramedic school and taught there for a while as well. And then the whole fire side of things, from learning all of the gear and the tools and hose lays and trucks and engines and ambulances and how to respond to all types of emergencies, was just very exciting and very rewarding. So I think maybe what people can learn from that is you could go from one completely different career that was more almost in the arts to something that's completely opposite spectrum, so to speak, pursuing a career in the fire service. And so point is, if people have aspirations to be a firefighter, you can achieve them, no matter what your background is.
You got to be a little brave, right? It requires some bravery.
Certainly, and I think what really helps with that is the training. To begin with too, you see about 85% of the emergency calls we go on are medical in origin. So sometimes individuals have a very difficult time with seeing trauma, especially trauma induced by another person. It puts a psychological aspect, or when a pediatric or a kid is involved. So there is a sense of you need to not be scared of blood and that sort of problems, and you need to bring calm to the chaos. We're there, simply put, as problem solvers. If you're going to call those three numbers of 911, we're going to come as a team and we're going to solve that problem. Whether that's hazardous materials that are leaking, whether that's a child drowning in a pool, whether that's a significant structure fire, some of these recent wildfires, no matter what it is, we're going to put in our training and utilize the incident command system and get structured and organized and resolve and mitigate that problem.
I highly respect that. Now, climate change and global warming has been in the talks for a while. Do you believe in climate change and global warming has an effect on these fires? If so, how? What would your recommendations be for that or any other causes? What are the best and worst things to do in these situations?
I think that we are exhibiting climate change, personally. I do certainly, we see wildfires increasing in severity and duration on a regular basis. And I believe that climate change plays a role into that. And that's concerning for the future. particularly in this recent, January 2025 Los Angeles firestorms exhibited the most powerful winds I've ever seen in 25 years as a first responder. It was incredibly strong wind. Being about 6'4" and 220 pounds, it knocked me off my balance multiple times. And we saw not just one fire, but we had multiple fires taking place. It was kind of like being, the fire department was in a ring with a heavyweight boxer, and you took hit after hit after hit, fire after fire after fire. And so it was very challenging. It wasn't a singular fire we had. I think, years back we often had, more topography-driven fires versus wind-driven fires that are so intense now. Those are really the two main types. So a topography-driven fire is when you're going to have a fire break out in the brush. It's going to burn uphill naturally. It's going to preheat the fuels or the brush above it. It usually burns in a V pattern. We're going to anchor the base of it where it started, make sure it's completely out, and start to flank the sides with a progressive hose lane, flank the other side, start to pinch it off, use our helicopters or air assets to drop water at the really the head of the fire or to protect homes. And most of those fires the general public doesn't even hear about because we stomped them out so quick that they weren't of any significant concern. But this other type of wildfire that we've always had wind-driven fires, but we're seeing the wind being so severe is a whole different ballgame. It moves those flames like a freight train, and it pushes it in any direction that it can happen. So if you just think of simple firefighting procedures of having a nozzle and you open it up and you're shooting water on your fire, and then you have these significant winds, it'll push that whole water source 90 degrees to your right, and then you're compensated and it pushes it back the other way. I mean, it's just your normal firefighting activity isn't even normal. And the most difficult aspect when you have these significant winds is that it takes out your aircraft. It's like being a Roman soldier, but you don't have a shield anymore. So when your aircraft is down, it really takes a lot of your tactics out because you can't use those air assets to stop fire, to protect homes, or use other fixed wing aircraft to drop retardant on the ridge lines to help box in the fire. And you're relying just on ground resources that are getting absolutely beat up. And the winds just push it through communities so fast that you're just trying to keep up, trying to evacuate people and to get them out. It's a very, very challenging time period. When the winds got to be as strong as they were during the Palisades fire, there's really not stopping that fire until the winds calm down, to be honest. It's
we don't have enough water though. That's it.
So does climate change play a role into that? Most of us believe so.
Yeah.
We're not scientists and we're not going to get into any politics of global warming and things, but it's certainly becoming more and more of a challenge. And I think collectively, as people doing goodness, we need to take care of Mother Earth. We need to do what's in our means to be able to make things sustainable.
I do agree. Wonderfully said. And just two improvised questions come to my mind. So during these wildfires, there was always also said like there wasn't enough water, and some people blame the governor. In California's defense and the lack of water situation, what do you have? I mean, you can try to answer this
I'll give you a
question as
basic
neutral as
Yeah.
possible. I mean, I don't know which. I don't want to take sides on this show as much as possible. Go.
Yeah. Well, it's safe to say that we did experience water challenges during, for instance, the Palisades fire, and that's not uncommon or specific to Los Angeles. Any large, massive fire to where you're going to have a thousands of firefighters opening up fire hydrants, depleting the water resources under the ground, is going to deplete those tanks quicker often than they could even be filled. So that's going to be a challenge for any fire, because the domestic water supply of most water systems were not originally intended for a configuration and having all hydrants in that area, or most of them, being opened up and pouring copious amounts of water with large GPM at one time. It's like having, here's my cup, and normally I would just sip with one straw. But now you have a big fire, and you're putting in another straw, and this thing's full with straws, just depleting that tank so rapidly. Because it's not that uncommon, we often will have other strategies and tactics that we can implement to kind of assist with that. So we can create a water shuttle, meaning, okay, maybe that hydrant down here is still working at lower elevation. It's usually the upper elevations of the challenge. So we'll put a fire engine here, and then this hydrant that was out, now we got a hose line that can reach it. We connect that between the hose lines. That's a shuttling the water up to that area. But that takes time. And if it's a massive wildfire with these winds, that's maybe not that practical to implement that quickly. The other thing is we'll bring in water tenders. So it's a big apparatus that's got a tank, and that's going to drive up in an area and give us water. That's a lot more water than we carry in our fire engine. And then we also use pumps, and we'll draft out of swimming pools.
I thought of that.
Yeah.
I thought of that.
Did you?
Why did there's so many swimming pools in LA? You did that?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's not an uncommon tactic to utilize when you have a big body of water, and you can put a pump in it and hose and get enough GPM to protect that home or ones around it. So that'll be done. But I'll be honest, those three tactics of a water shuttle, a water tender, and drafting out of a swimming pool for simplicity are easy to do under normal-ish conditions. These fires that we saw and what they call a PDS, a particularly dangerous situation, when you have minor, moderate, major, extreme, and the PDS, the highest level of wind severity ever, that was just so intense, all of those tactics become that much more challenging. Right. And I think people need to realize those expectations as well.
Okay.
So we'll get a rescue your way, otherwise let me know if they're just going to transport. I'll let you coordinate with Fire 4 once they get them up in the cockpit where they want to put them at. Copy, Elko IC. Just let me know if you're going to go ahead and short haul them over to land-based company, so if you guys are going to handle the transport. Okay, Elko, touch the transport, put it back to UAE and
And lastly, if anybody wants to contribute to goodness from the common people or people who have more resources and funds who can help, what would you like to say to them?
Who want to contribute? I'd say that we're humbled. That's very kind. And I think first we suggest helping the fire victims, those especially if they lost their homes. Imagine going home to a pile of rubble. I lost count of the amount of people I talked to that they told me stories of they used to push their kids on these swings, or they got married in that church, this is the community, they walked here to get coffee, and now they're going back to just rubble. It breaks your heart. So we want our efforts of the generous public to try to help them first. But for the fire department, we also absolutely appreciate that. The city budget only, about 90+% of that's for just salaries. So there's other tools and training and equipment that we use that are provided by generous donors, and that is often from support, LAFD.org. And Give to a Hero is another one that if, say, that firefighter was injured or lost their life trying to help other people, imagine that wife and their kids. Now they got to deal with not having that potential help and income. So Give to a Hero actually goes to families of firefighters, widows, and orphans.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for sharing this information. I know you still have fires to put up, so we don't want to take more of your time. Thank you so much. Any last words if you want to say either to this camera or that camera? Any last words you want to say? And then we can say goodness will win and end the show. But I also want to take a picture of us here, if
Sure,
that's
yeah,
okay.
of course.
Okay.
I think your topic of goodness is extremely profound, as simple as it sounds, and we need to help each other out more so. We need to minimize differences, bridge gaps, and be a human, help people out. So I think you're to be applauded for pushing that agenda and thoughts into people's minds to try to come together and help each other out. So thank you for that.
And thank you so much for your bravery and all the help you're doing for people. You're protecting people, saving people, not just people's lives. You know, even an animal and plant has lives. Every life you save, I hope in good karma everything gets back to you and your loved ones.
We feel the good vibes. We'll take it.
Yes, yes. So we're gonna end on our note saying 1, 2, 3. Goodness will win.
You want to try it again?
Let's do it one more
Okay.
time. 1, 2, 3.
Goodness will win.
Perfect. And cut. That was great.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Obviously, it was a necessity, but what did it mean to you guys to see not only firefighters from all regions of California, but surrounding states and then surrounding countries come and come to support you guys in the mission there?
Well, the Master Mutual Aid is a great example of neighbor helping neighbor. So if there's a big, long duration, large scale incident in Northern California, we'll send people and vice versa. So we definitely needed that help. We're very appreciative that we were able to enact that so quickly. And it's just been a very, very long process, and we're not done yet.
I mean, as you said, it's not done yet, but what has it meant to you guys to see the gratitude that people have for what you guys are doing now?
The amount of gratitude has just been overwhelming. Firefighters are used to going out there doing our job. We've had so many people appreciative in the community as well as businesses. Hollywood's really been stepping up, supporting our firefighters as well. They've also been supporting our police officers, our National Guard. This was all hands on deck, and we've been getting so much support. And it really comes down to also, we've had elementary school kids writing us thank you cards. We've been putting those up in our office, in our fire stations, and the support just from the community. They're even mailing thank you cards to the fire station. That means everything to us.
I mean, I'm sure there have been, obviously Hollywood is full of powerful people with a lot of money and influence. Have you guys seen a groundswell of people saying, like, you know what do you need in your resource-wise to help prevent this from happening again? Obviously, there's, you can't ever guarantee, but, you could make efforts, right? I'm sure people have come to you guys, or maybe not specifically you two, but you know what I mean, right?
No, like Captain Van Gerpen said, huge outpouring of support. And so supportlafd.org gets us the tools and training needed where the city budget stops. But beyond that, there's a hero, which is the Widows and Orphans Fund. So if something happens to us firefighters and say we perish in the line of duty, they are there to pick up the pieces and to help our family be able to move along. So they are taking tallies of what these very humbling and gracious people have been doing to open up their checkbooks to help the fire department. We're not asking for 1 cent more on a paycheck. If anything, we just want the team, the tool, and the training so we could do the best job possible for those that we're serving. We're proud to do it.
Thank you.
Wow.